Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me my good friend, a good woman, a good leader, Moji Wusu. Thank you so much. As you know, when something great, I'm sorry I'm moving this thing. The sound guy is looking at me like, what is she doing? Yeah. So thank you once again. We're going to kick this off really quickly because I really want this to be impactful. I really want us to make a change. And with Moji being here, I'm going to, when I ask you guys questions, or if you have questions, so the idea was that you would have one of these cards on your chair and you could really just write the questions down. But somehow life happened. And I think the cards are downstairs. So we're going to have to pretend you have a card. When I call you to ask a question, please keep it nice, succinct, and on point. So we're going to get in there immediately. So, Moji, thank you so much for ideating this. It's incredible that we got here in the end. You don't even want to know half of the drama that happened, but yeah, when things are really going to be good, it gets a bit shaky. And like Moji said, we hadn't spoken in 2 days, so we wanted to keep it real. We wanted to make it impactful, and we're going to get right in there. So usually when you want to have one of these, people ask you that, where'd you start? Usually from the beginning is always good. So Moji, when I hear about your achievements, if I didn't know you and someone said a woman has raised 5 billion in under 10 years, and she's managed to get a Frexim Bank to back a product to the tune of 1 billion. So this woman, this young, beautiful, regular, you think she's a, what do they call that hair? Formerly known as Auntie Fumi hair, and you just think you're just a regular babe, is funding banks. This is big. This is not even jokes. So there are lessons to be learned from her. Moji, tell us, because I want to know, what happened? What was in the water that's your mom showered over your head when you were born? Tell me. So Moji, where were you born? Because it's always best to start from the beginning.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear myself, but if you can hear me, that's fine. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Her Royal Highness. Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. Good evening to all my fans. I can see so many of you here, and it's quite emotional for me. So if I get emotional sometimes, just pardon me. Good evening to every single person who's known me for so long, and I'm sure lots of you are not surprised that this is the path I've chosen. I think for most people would know that I have always wanted to be in finance, or if you've known me for a very long time, you know I've been in finance. But sitting here, I have electricity going through my body because my mentor is here, and he's been mentoring me for 19 years. He's been mentoring my husband and I for 19 years. And 4 years ago, he rang me. He didn't ring me, actually. He said to me in front of a stage of people that there will be a time where there will be platforms, and God was asking me to make sure I didn't get selfish, and I turned around and let the ladder down. So when you said that today, I don't know what you thought, sir, but I'm like, I've heard this before. He said, you must turn around and let the ladder down and let other people in. It is the mandate. And so your success is conditional to letting other people in. And so when I start saying my story, a lot of people think, yes, but why is she letting other people in? Because they're so used to people shutting the door. So I'm under strict instructions by the people who opened the door for me that I must let the ladder down and I must let other people in. And it's become more and more of a burden to me. over the last few years. My name is Moji Wusu, and I'm the founder of Woodhall Capital, a financial advisory firm, finance house, and, possibly a bank. I started this firm 10 years ago, so it's very incidental. And a lot of you probably, apart from my close friends, wouldn't know me because I intentionally wanted to stay private. It was my thing. I wanted to be I'm English educated, and it was my thing to be under the radar, not known. All the adjectives, all the things that we say, I don't know, I don't want people to know me. Billionaires get on the train, nobody knows them. I don't want to, and all of those things. And something, maybe this mandate struck me this year. If you stay under the radar, how can you fulfill the mandate of letting other people in? And so I decided, and I started feeling that it was selfish of me to want to mask closing the door on that I don't want to be known. I started my...
I'm gonna get in there before you give everything away, because I'm gonna give you time to tell us the full story. But I want you to first tell us where you were born, because some of us need to trace our roots back to this. Yes. Maybe something we need to go and check. Please, where is this water? Where were you born?
I was born in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria, to a family of the Odejiman family. My father passed away last year. My parents divorced when I was 7. And I grew up with my mother and my 4 siblings, and so we're 5. My mother was very successful when I was young, and so I came with my siblings to the United Kingdom when I was 15. And then my mother, and I think the turning point in my life is, so I went to Grace Children's School here? Who went to Adesoye College here? Right, and then my mother decided to bring us to the UK because the Nigerian universities had some issues, and she said, look, leave early so that you don't have to explain what WAEC is to the universities here since you're coming here. And so she made me leave in Form 6. So I did my Form 6 here, my GCSEs in the UK. But that summer, I had come with friends of mine. And we're just jumping around, going to all the places you go to in those days. Let me betray my age. Bayswater, Whiteley's, hanging out with your friends, Oxford Street.
Awesome.
And I remember going into my mother's room, and we used to live in St. John's Wood. And I remember going into her room, but she wasn't there, but the balcony was open. I went there, and my mother was crying. And up to that point, I'd never really seen an adult cry. I thought kids cried, and I had never seen an adult cry. So I approached her and I said, Mommy, what's the matter? And she said, I've lost it all. And for a 15-year-old, you're thinking, what's lost it all? And she said, I don't have any more money. I thought, okay. And she says, I've lost it all. And she then told me something about some transaction she'd done. The Forex had moved, the rates had moved against her. And, there was no money. So a 15-year-old trying to absorb that. And I tell you the story because if you meet my brothers, they're totally different from me because they didn't have this experience of seeing my mother cry. So my brothers are very different.
So are you trying to say that moment changed things for you?
Absolutely. When people have asked me over and over again, what is it? Why? How can you? I think most people have this moment. If you look back, there's some moments that made you realize that you had to be successful and you had to work. And that moment for me was, I don't want my mother to cry, so I have to be less of a burden to her. We're going to these expensive schools, and something, I think, clicked in my brain that afternoon, that morning. It was a morning.
So I want to ask you this question. Most people from where we come from, when they're growing up, they want to be a doctor, they want to be this, they want to be that. But nobody wakes up and says, I want my daughter to be an investment banker or someone that raises finance. It's so far out there that we don't even think about it. What actually led you to that? And what opportunities did you, see that made you think this is the path I want to follow?
Yeah, I think we need to be very careful. Investment bankers want their children to be bankers. So you have to remember that your narrative is from where you are.
Okay.
Investment bankers, lawyers want their children to be investment, and they set them on the path very early.
Your mom was an investor?
No, my mom was not investor, but I'm saying that when you say most people, we need to be careful that our background doesn't determine the narrative, because you could be limiting yourself. If your parents were bankers, my mom wasn't a banker. There are people that want their children to be investment banking because they are investment bankers, and they set their children on that path really early. They plan the primary school they go to, they plan the secondary school they go to, they hang around all their friends wherever they do internships, they place themselves. So some people want their children to be investment bankers. My mother is a businesswoman. Such a pity, because she was here 2 weeks ago and she left back to Lagos. She was a business person, and she was in oil and gas when I was born, and has done loads of business exporting. And right now, she's trying to build a refinery, and she's 74. She's trying to build a refinery. I rang her yesterday. She was like, "Oh, I'm on my way to the site." I'm like, "Good luck." Yeah,
She's 74.
She's 74, and so she's trying to build a refinery. And so I think seeing it was never part of my reality that women didn't work. So when I was growing up, I would go to Alausa, a place in Lagos where the federal government had their headquarters in those days, with my mom, and I would sit in meetings. I went to a district college. Our holidays were always different from everybody else's. So your parents had to entertain you because you're the only child at home. So she would take me to some meetings, and I always encourage women and parents to take their daughters to meetings and let them sit there and hear and sit and know how to comport themselves in corporate environments from a very early age. So she take me to meetings. Maybe sometimes I'll sit outside, sometimes I'll come. But I knew what a COO was really early. And I knew that you could sell land to pay children's school fees in expensive schools. And so I knew those terminologies, COO, secretariats, PAMSEC. So I knew all those things. Yes.
Okay, so as you talk, I'm going to interject you. So not being rude, only just because when you say expensive schools, one of the things that comes to mind is within the Nigerian narrative, I found that a lot of people that do well, and this is me and my narrative, right? A lot of people that go out and explore big things like you, a lot of them come from a safety net. They know that they can't fail. They know that, there's family money of some sort. There's this, there's that. So sometimes they don't take that leap. How does that sit with you? Do you think, I'm talking especially in Nigerian terms, people will go and they'll explore all these things and you're like, yeah, they do it big because they know that even if I fail, I'll be all right. So how do you go and just grab the big time from nothing? Your mom was wealthy, so maybe
Yeah.
How do you feel
I'm not
about
sure that narrative. I see that people that come from wealthy homes don't try, they don't take risks. Their whole composture is don't lose what we have. So they're not brought up to take risks. They're brought up to maintain and be content with what the trust fund has given them, right? So
Do you mostly agree?
yes, of course. They're not told, their parents don't teach them to go and jump off a cliff. They don't need to. What are you going to do down the cliff? We have it up here, right?
Okay.
So
without saying names, without naming names,
So
there's some good people out here, but they're fired up as well.
yes.
Yeah. And one of them brought his dad, and they're all fired up in their house. They keep working. He knows who he is.
Well, and those are, I would say, outliers in those situations, right? The whole point, even, and if I may say this, even our parents really didn't want us to take risks. We got a house for our wedding present, and I said to my husband, we're not going to live in a free house at 30. In my mind, that was disgusting, right? Because I thought, why would you live in a 5-bedroom house at 30, free? And I had this Maslow's law that shelter is one of the things you're meant to come to this earth to fight for. And if at 30 years old, you have nothing to fight for, what life is that? And so they gave us this really beautiful house in Lekki, a 5-bedroom house. And I just thought, I don't know, I just thought, this doesn't feel right. We have to fight for something. We're too young to be content. And so it was very controversial. My husband's parents were like, you really married a psycho. And I thought, no, let's fight. We're 30. The house will always be there. But if we lose how did I even know that? If you lose this part of your life, this season, that's it. It's gone. You'll be in this trap forever. Of course, I have a rebel without a cause of a mother. She's like, don't take it. Don't take it. They're going to say you married for that. And they're going to say, see, don't take it. And so my mother, influencing me on the rebellious side, was saying, make your own name. Very important. And she really wanted me to go into the Moji Wusu family and make a mark. She didn't want them to be doing me a favor. She didn't want me to be a burden to them. And she knew I had it because she brought me up. So she was like...
And I know your mother, she was like, yeah, fire.
So we rented. And the other thing that appalled them is we then rented next to them in Ikoyi.
How dare you?
And they were like, you're wasting money. We're like, we want to waste money. And when then we and they didn't talk to us for some time. They didn't talk to us for 6 months. And I felt so sorry for my husband. I mean, his rebel wife is leading you up the wrong path. And then eventually we then bought our own house. And then they came to see that, perhaps this psycho has my son's best interest at heart. Because guess whose surname is on that C of O? It's his father's surname that is on that C of O. There's no C of O that has Ni or Dediran, right? So it's all about everyone seeing that I have the bigger picture in mind.
Talking about family, Moji, and I'm going to open the ground for you guys to ask questions in a bit. Let's talk a little bit about family. You've got 3 kids, an incredible husband, and you are seen like, money mover, money shaker, money everything in the circles of people that know you. I'm so glad you decided to actually start showing up for people to actually see that there are people that are doing well. But one question I have for you is, and I know it's very, very cliche, how do you balance, all the balls? How do you keep everything rolling, the family, the business, and the friendships with your friends? Because sometimes when you're way ahead, people start getting touchy. They start thinking that now she thinks she's big. So I just want you to give me like a rounded, how has having money changed your relationships, and how do you maintain the home front?
Okay, so I'll start with the home front. On my way here, I was dressing up. My daughter tried to reach me 2 times. So we were on the phone talking. She had gone to my Instagram page and she was telling me some things. And in short, what I'm trying to say is communication is so important. I was talking to my makeup artist when I was coming here, and she was asking me for advice on how to balance situations. And I said, look, even no matter how successful you are, you still need to be human, and you still need a loving relationship. And sometimes it may mean that you calm down a little bit and carry everyone along. You can't do this alone. There's no way on earth you'll be able to have a balanced mind if you are just, dashing ahead and not looking left or right or sideways. So my husband is here, my darling husband. He's over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Moji Wusu.
And I think the truth is communication. So I'm a very transparent and open person. I've always been. And I think it helps in my marriage. I'm not coded, so I have no codes. My phone, password, this, that. So already he can see that it is for the greater good. I don't have secrets with my mother that's against him or anything like that. It's about him and I and the children. And so that openness, that transparency, I think perhaps with the right person, it actually can help to balance things. I have no secrets, I have no stories lurking around, and I don't have anyone who I'm closer to. And even no matter how, how many people I meet, it's still that this partnership, this union comes first. And I show it to everyone, irrespective of who you are, that my husband comes first in every single thing. I remember a few years ago, I was traveling with a very, very wealthy individual. And my husband takes me to the airport every time. Can you imagine? He takes me to the airport every time I'm traveling.
Sweet like that?
I don't take him to the airport every time he's traveling. So he takes me to the airport, and anyway, so we got to the airport this day. And then my husband met the client, and he was talking to the client. I was, doing what I do, checking for makeup or whatever. And the client and he was talking about the transaction. And then we got on the flight, and the client was like, how come your husband knows so much? He's really abreast of what you're doing. And I was like, yes, because that's my sounding board. So communication, I think.
Communication, fabulous. Let me ask you this. There are lots of women here. Chioma, I've got quite amazing women here. In fact, most of the women here are business women, including the Queen herself, who's ran Africa Fashion Week London for the last 14 years. I really, like I said, wanted this room to be filled with people of purpose. And for most women here, they wanted to be here to meet you because they wanted to know how to level up, because they're all individually good at what they do. I've got Chioma here. I've got so many women that hopefully will get time to network, and you get to find out all sorts of people. I've got Titi Lolami over there, who's just raised some money with. I'd love to hear from you. Emma Grade, who is Kim Kardashian's friend. They started Sims together. So they're amazing people in the room. And I think what every woman would like to know is, what was that mindset that took you from zero to probably your first 100K that some people might be trying to get to? And Nikki, I'm going to put you on the spot because this 100K, I'm saying some people actually earn it in a day. At some point I'll come back to you. But how do you go from your first zero to 100K to that mindset of 1 million, and then you jump to 1 billion? What audacity? How?
I think I'm not obsessed with the numbers. I'm just doing what I'm doing, right? Somebody else is counting, I'm doing the work. And I'm not really obsessed with it, whether it's 1 billion or 5 billion or 10 billion. I'm just, I know, but I'm just doing what I know to do and doing what I can do. In business, I say to women, the first thing is delayed gratification. I think actually the first thing is the foundation. So what are you doing this for? Because you have to negotiate with your foundation, right? And for me, as a person of faith, my foundation is Christ. And so that is solid for me. And then that helps me through the trajectory of all the things I'm going through in the process of making 1 million, 1 billion, 10 billion.
So what does every woman here need to know to actually help her get that energy?
Yes, the energy.
To keep it moving.
I think delayed gratification. Okay. So even now, there's so many things I can afford. But I have learned I can't have them until I've hit my milestone. So I have milestones. There are things, I'll give you one. I remember when I started Woodhull Capital in 2014, I wanted to to be able to do certain things. But I had this goal, financial goal. I can share it with you. I wanted to reach $1 million. And so I would travel economy when I was on 750K. I could travel economy. If I check the ticket price and my PA comes to say to me it's 10 million, I'm like, forget about it. I could. And I'll delay that gratification because I wanted to get to £1 million. And I would rock the same, I'm just talking like a chick, right? I'll rock the same bag over and over and over again. But that £1 million was my goal. And I would keep going until I got it. And
so it's about that laser focus
yes,
on the goal.
you just need to, I saw people, and I think for men, let's even talk about guys. I saw people who had less than me doing more than me. And that's a big thing for men and their ego. Because men think, I got more money than this guy. Look, he looks more successful than me. And that delayed gratification, I think, for men also, where people expect you to have 10 PAs, right? An organigram that looks like, spaghetti, okay? And 20 PAs, executive this and that. It's actually harder for men to be able to hold it down until they get to that point. Because everyone is pressing on them. The wife is pressing on them. The bills are pressing on them. Family is pressing on them. People are gossiping. Don't mind him. He has money. He's just stingy. And for whatever reason, men can't take that word stingy. They don't want anyone to call them stingy. And a lot of people have found that the way to manipulate a guy is to say he's stingy to his face. That should get him spending, even what he doesn't want to spend. Most guys want to be called kind. And the ultimate for a lot of men is he's generous.
A very generous guy.
So for a lot of men, this is a harder thing. Knowing that you have 750K and then your wife wants to go on a 10K vacation. 750 minus 10, 740. What's the difference?
Same.
Right? And it's so easy, and that's how they get you to go from 740 to 700 to 680 to 500 to 120. So it's curbing that ego. For chicks, we want to look fly, right? And the babes, school uniform. So
Let me cut you in there. Yeah. You see, the looky fly bits, we have a reason. From other countries, they think it's about showing off. But as a Nigerian, that's how we used to tell them, I'm cool and you're not. So it's not about money, right? Other people think that it's about, I've got cash. No, we're just showing you who's cool and you're not. So you can carry on. Yeah, because I'm hot and you're not. Just a lie. A lot of people think that for you to actually do well, because I remember talking to certain people that my friend has raised some money and the first thing is like, yeah, something went down. And I remember also that you always remind me that sometimes you enter rooms, you don't know anyone, and you just ask for that money, you ask for that license, and you go in there. How do we change these narratives around our boobs doing the job and women just showing up, and actually for men to see that we're here for the business? Because apparently on the internet, I didn't make it up, they said, and men, you can tell me later if it's true, that most times men look at women and they're like, yeah, my type, no, not my type, and then they move on. I don't know how true that is, but I read it on Instagram, but not everything on there is true. So Moji, how do you enter a room? Because I'll tell you what, I remember Moji inviting me for an event with a bank here. And Moji said, go there, I'll see you there. And Moji literally dropped me there and she didn't show up. I almost died that day. I'd never seen so many Englishmen in suits, in my life. I was like, Moji, how do you work with all these people? So, when you do job interviews and they say the final stage, you need to speak with the CEO. They were like more than 50 of them. And so this question is getting longer and longer because it's deep stuff. How do you go into a room full of men, do the business, come out with Temi not telling you the boobs are showing?
Well, I think having evenings like this is very good because people need to see people that are not doing things like that. And first of all, I say to women, you need to be too expensive that there's no price on you. If someone can pay you to sleep with them, it means that you're affordable. And someone said something to me recently. The person said, there's a rumor that somebody bought you a house in Knightsbridge. I say, yeah, but he doesn't live in Knightsbridge. How can someone promote you above himself? No, I don't think so. Go and check where he lives. He doesn't live in Knightsbridge. So you need to be more expensive than any check that man can give. So it needs to be something that even he hasn't experienced. So who's going to write me a check? So if someone's saying to you, it's because he sized you up and thought, this one, Bristol Flats, is her dream. And men listen a lot. And they listen to what you're saying and what you're not saying. And you're giving off a lot of, you're giving out energy. This one looks like there's one mortgage problem. Let me just ask her a bit more. Where do you live? And before you know, you're talking, last time I had sex, and you've given out so much. But if you're expensive, even to yourself, your soul, who's going to put a price on you?
Awesome. For many of us, and this is just going back to business because inside my mind, my heart, my soul, I'm a business person. One of the things that I always ask myself is, why do I want this so much? A part of me, I remember some years ago, it was all about legacy. It was all about coming to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be on the earth forever. And it was part of also, I want to be successful. I want to show that my life here counts. And it was all of those things that pushed me, especially legacy. And I'm really glad that you set up the foundation because I know that Woodhull Capital International Foundation, I got it right, was set up because you wanted to leave a legacy. Was that, sometimes people say you see the beginning from the end, you see the end from the beginning, that kind of thing. Was that one of the things that pushed you, or was it just becoming successful? What was that first thing that just, kept pushing you to keep going?
Absolutely. The foundation was never part of my own plan. I was just trying to survive. But as I said in the beginning, because I have a foundation, the foundation's Christ, he told me that this is the condition, right? So this is the condition. And you must give back. You must serve. It's not about you. And I think knowing that it's not about you. But it actually really became profound to me about 7 years ago, when I then decided that I was going to structurize it, open offices around it, hire people to work, make it a professional foundation. And then, I think someone who I'd met through you then said to me, you could and you should take the foundation and make it international. And I thought, really? Like Gates Foundation? Really? And then we came to London 2 years ago, and then we applied for a license. And got the Charities Commission's license and the foundation. My darling sister, Vivian, and we, such a brilliant, and there's so many latent talent, and such a brilliant lady. And I said, look, we're setting up the foundation here in the UK, because the temptation, I said to God, why should I give them money? There are loads of people in Africa who are suffering. Let me calculate this. 10,000 times 2,000 is X, Y, it's so much. And I got, wherever you are operating from, you must have dominion and dominate there. Dominate where you are, but who says you can't dominate here? You would give here and you would give there. And it's possible. And so change one doesn't take away from the other. So just know that you can give on all fronts, and put the calculator away, and just focus on what I'm telling you to do. So we have a foundation that has been on for the last, I think, 9 years. In Nigeria, we built schools, we have soup kitchens, we've done quite a bit, and you should go on the foundation website to see. We don't accept funding from external people, so it's all internally funded by Woodhull Capital. And then we started in the UK, Met the King's Foundation, Trussell Foundation we fund, and we're doing so much more. I want to do a whole lot more in the UK to show also that black people can give. Amazing. It's not always with a begging bowl, and you should see how shocked they are. They're like, let's get this straight. We don't give money. We said, yes, we want to fund you. And the shock on their faces, yes.
Yeah. But Moji, how do you deal with the fact that we're not here forever? How do we enjoy this money?
Okay, it's about legacy, right? And you're not here for you. And, of course, for someone who saw her mother cry, my first thing was I wanted to make that woman comfortable, right? She lives the best life right now. I'm spoilt. But, there was a time my mother thought I wasn't spending enough on her because she had heard that. But I said to her, let me go and save, so when I start, I won't stop. Let me be able, just give me that breathing space. Let me gather and build structures around what I want to do, so that when I start,
I love that, structures. So, yeah.
But if
I'll let you carry on,
I'm
but please
jumping,
hold that thought. Structure.
So if I'm jumping and getting excited every time, I'm going through booms and bursts, and everyone is going through booms and bursts with me. But if you just allow us to go through that one more year, where I get to that number, and there's a reason why I got to that number. Maybe I've done my calculation. I now know school fees is out of the way, this is out of the way. Then we can spend with contentment. I know loads of people that are trying to do this on credit cards because when money is supposed to come, then it doesn't come. And you're juggling, and you don't have peace of mind. Because as you're robbing Peter, Paul is calling. And so if you have that mentality, I may not live tomorrow. But if you're patient, and even if you don't live forever and you've built structure, you leave a legacy. Yeah. Legacy is why we're here. Don't get me wrong, I play a lot. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying out of the 750, remember I said 10. But from 9 to 1, okay, you can do what you do, but don't let the 1M goal get out of your mind. And set a time frame to it. You will enjoy. You will do it with such peace. If you can just hold back that bit more, you can help so many more people than you. By the time you get to a certain amount, the trip to Bali is nothing. You'll be carrying people with you. You see, if you're doing this boom and bust thing, it's only you, your wife, your children, flossing, Instagram. But by the time...
We don't floss. We just show people that I'm hot and you're not.
But by the time you're able to practice the delayed gratification, and I said it's delayed. I didn't say it would never come. You're able to help so many people. And as you're showing, you're carrying people along because you can. And I think that's just the difference. But it doesn't mean we're living, put off the heating, please. We're trying to get to 1 million. No. No. So we're playing, but we're saying that let's not start living the 750. Let's just, So I wouldn't fly first class for a very long time because I had another goal.
Hold that thought. Airpiece. Moji said she's going to be flying airpiece. I'm like how?
Of course I am going to fly airpiece.
You don't know airpiece? Who's that? You don't know airpiece?
I'm flying to. Yes.
Yes, for airpiece.
Yes. And I
love it.
I wouldn't fly first class. But if you fly first class, it's just a bigger room, than business class. There's nothing wrong. Business class you're not suffering, right? So I did it for a very, very long time because I actually know you're not suffering. Okay, it's just that next level of comfort and luxury, and and just staying in that and being content with each and every single one, and making sure that you don't look down. I really find it uncomfortable when my children don't feel. I mean, when children don't feel comfortable in the economy. That is when 98% of the world trouble.
Let me tell you something about what you just said. I was on the plane. Nigerian kids that have never earned a pound, their friends were going to economy, and the person said, he's taking the walk of shame. Where do we come up with things like this with our children? But anyway, that was the craziest segue from the conversation. We're going back in.
Yeah, so so I don't know if that's answered some. Excuse me, sir. I don't know if that answered some, but I'm just saying, there's play reasoning, but it's just so that you can do it for such a much longer time. I know guys that try to please their wives, and they take gambles, and then when all the money goes, she still blames you anyway. She still says he was useless, he spent, and he's going to say, I spent on you. Like, he didn't save, he was living life anyhow, but in his head, he thinks he was doing it, that 10K trip to Jamaica, that whatever. But when it all goes and she sees that the funds are not sustainable, when she sits in a pub with her friends crying, she's not going to say he said he's not can't live forever. He's going to say, useless man, he didn't save.
Even your kids would be like, mommy left us. What did she leave us?
I ask myself, why do I work so hard, and why am I still working? Maybe on some levels, I don't need to work as hard. But something is driving me and something is pushing me, and I don't know what it is. Particularly this year, my closest friends know that I've stayed private on purpose, maybe since I was young, actually. And there's something going on inside my head that wants me to be here, to be talking about this. And it's probably part of this before I turn 50. After the flights, after the fancy holidays, after you've bought the beautiful houses and you've educated your kids in all the best schools in the world, you need to have something else. And I think that is what we're all doing here today. Sharing this mandate with you, perhaps going home to discuss whether you should be cooking or not for for your husbands and all of those things. And, lighting somebody else's candle. And even if it's difficult and you don't understand,
somebody else's candle
becomes a huge mandate, and something pushes you. No matter what you post on Instagram, there's somebody looking at you thinking, is this wealth? What? All right, because when I was going to write about Moji, when I was like, she raised 5 billion, and Moji's like, remove it all. There are people that have raised like 10 billion. Because some people do that in one single transaction.
Like,
and so that legacy is how much of impact. And it's only occurred to me in an intentional way in the last few years. And that it has to be about impact and not so much about all you acquire. You must be able to see other people who you've pulled up.
Okay. You must be able to see other people that you've pulled up, build structures, and all of that. So I
just wanted to answer one question. I don't think I did. Because a lot of people, one of the biggest things that happens to a lot of people is, how do I navigate friendships? Once people think I become a queen, or how do I navigate friendships when people think you become financially successful? But friendships are probably 90% of success. People don't realize that. And the way you navigate friendships is to make sure that you have shared values. You can't go up. As much as I like some people, if we don't have shared values, there's some people I like, I love them, I really do. But because the shared values I know is what is going to keep me where I am looking at going to, I may like you from January to December, but if those values are looking like they're not being shared, I may need to exit the room. You don't need to exit the room, you can stay there. But I will exit the room and go to the my own next room. It may not be your own next room. And so I realized 90% of everything that's happened to me has been because of the friends I've kept. Something massive happened to me a few weeks, 2 months ago. It was a friend. And I realized you need to surround yourself in the most unemotional way with people with shared values. I didn't say rich people to rich people. I said shared values. Some of the people who have helped me the most in my career have been Muslims. So it has to be shared values. When your yes is your yes and your no is your no. And if I can't operate in that space with you, how do I pull you into a room when I'm not? You said something the other day. People who sin with you
will sin against you.
Shared values is so big. Shared values, even who you marry, for those who are single in this room. So you're not arguing about whether you should be cooking or not, right? So get it right from the foundation. So some conversations will be no conversations at all because you have shared values. And I thought I should touch on that because I found it to be very profound. No, so I think the turning point for me, from an entrepreneurial perspective, my mother was an entrepreneur. I saw the ups and downs, and that's why I can talk to you about booms and busts. One day she could afford our fees, the next day she couldn't. But I was actually, I lost my job in a bank. I was hired from the City of London to go and work for a Nigerian bank. And the turning point for me was that I lost the job. And I defined myself. Most people had saved me as either Moji Goldman's or Moji Sky. And so I'd actually, unconsciously, that became my own identity to myself. I didn't realize it because people contacted me when they wanted to know about international funding. And I don't know when that, it's one thing for someone to call you something, another thing for you to call yourself that. And so when that rug was taken away from me, I remember one day I said, I feel like my compass, I've lost my direction. And I realized that I'd made my identity what someone could take away from me. These people just looked at me and thought, we'll show her Pepe. And I thought, oh my God, they could take this rug away from me and my identity. And so the first thing I knew I had to fix was who I was. So they've taken this banking, plum job, global head, whatever it is. And now, because that's how you've related to people, you have to redefine yourself to yourself. Introduce yourself back to yourself. And I think just for the men in the room, I always say to guys, what if you never become rich? My brother is not married, and he says he's waiting to make money and then marry. I said, what if you never do? What's your own definition of yourself to yourself? You need to be able to define it more than the generosity and the financial stuff that you are to people. And that's what makes men sometimes bitter with women, because they feel that the only thing women see that they bring to the table is money. But then I say to the guys, you've defined yourself that way when you were probably chasing her, right? And so that's been your identity. So I needed to redefine myself. And I then realized I didn't want to be a business person because I was scared of the booms and bursts of business because I'd seen it live. I'd seen my mom cry from this same running a business. I wanted to stay in corporate. I just wanted to stay in investment banking and get to the top.
Was that because that was what you knew, or because...
So I was a banker already. I left university and I'd gone into investment banking, and I had a flair for finance. I knew I didn't want to be an accountant. And investment banking actually masks finance with your personality. So it's the closest you can be to being yourself and being in finance, because you meet people, you get to solve problems and stuff like that. So I was in investment banking in the UK, and then I was hired to go and work for a Nigerian bank, and it was a very celebrated thing. And then I lost this job, and I had to redefine myself, and I didn't want to go into business because I was traumatized by my mom's experience. And then I had to go into business because I couldn't do anything else. And when I started Woodhall Capital, I started it in my husband's cafe. And if you watch the podcast to the end, I said that people thought I had an office. I didn't even have an office. And I used to buy lunch for clients. and they thought I was buying lunch for them. It's because I didn't have an office. And I didn't know the first deal was going to go through because we had tried 3 of the same transaction, and I couldn't fund it. And the day the transaction went through, the client called me and said, "We received the funding. Send your invoice." I was like, "Invoice? I don't even have a company." And I rang my husband and said, "I had to send an invoice. Can you help me set up a company?" My husband's a lawyer. And we tried Jesus Capital, Trinity Capital, Ghost Capital, Holy Capital. None of it was working. And we just couldn't find the name. And I wanted to be really holy. And I tried all the holy names, thank you. And it didn't work. And then I was walking past the building and I saw Woodhall. So I said, out of desperation, because the guy was like, "Where's your invoice?" This girl. And I said, "Sweetie, try Woodhall." And he called me back to say, I was walking, I will never forget where I was. And I was walking and he tried Woodhall and it went through. And that's how the name is called Woodhall. The downside is the bank who had asked me to leave now thought I owned that massive building and I stole the money from them. So they were like, "You see, what did we say? She's been pretending. She's bought all these properties from our money." So it was a good thing, but it was also a bad thing because they could swear that now that I've left them, the money is coming out, you see? Slowly she's bringing it out, coded, and all of those things. And that's how Woodhull started. Delayed gratification, humility, if you asked me, if I could quickly summarize what I think has helped. Delayed gratification, you need to gather up cash. Do you know what you can do when you have money? Do you know what you can do when you have money? I went shopping today. And I'd gone to the place the day before, a few days ago, and I changed my outfits because I told you what someone said to me. And they said to me, "Don't worry, we'll steam it and we'll bring it to you." Do you know what you can do when you have money? So if you think you want to show on Instagram, you haven't shown. Have sustainable wealth. And the door that you think has opened, you will see that you haven't seen the door. There's a level that you can go to when you have bulk, when you have wealth, not even money. You'll be called into rooms and you'll be told to don't tell anybody. But people like us will come out and will tell everybody, right? But you need to wait to get in there because nobody in that room is going to come out and tell you. Because to be in that room, it means you're peer-to-peer, you're disciplined, you're not a show-off, you don't fuss, you're discreet. They need discretion. They need a trainable spirit and a teachable spirit. And I was saying to someone today, teachable and trainable are different. People, my stylist, my hairdresser told me today, he taught me something yesterday, and I took it on board. So he can see that I'm teachable. Trainable is about your character. So if I said to you, when we go into this room, don't do this. If you don't do it, I then realize I can take you into that room. Don't talk. Don't talk. Why shouldn't I talk? It's my personality. Why should I be fake? You are a ruling mass. Just get into the room. Most importantly, stay in the room. Because the door that you think you've gone through, there's another door. But nobody's going to tell you. That's that subtle advice that this French guy gave me yesterday. I'm going to send him pictures. Excuse. We'll show him that if there's any more things you want to say, and I've been doing my hair with him for 8 years. If there's anything more you want to say, I'm teachable. Just keep telling me the secrets. Stay in the room.
Stay in the room, be teachable, be trainable.
So that people don't feel that you're a loose cannon. There's something that makes people uncomfortable about loose cannons. They feel that they're going to come into a room and they're going to scatter the place. And that's what has kept a lot of us back. Mr. Edu and I, we went through something 4 years ago. And, there's something, I was in the middle of a transaction and somebody looked at me and I could see it. Should I tell her? Should I not? Should I tell her? I could see it in his eyes. And he called me and he said to me, I want you to do this, this, and this. And I was like, wow. he really took his time. Should I tell her? Should I not? Should I? Right here in the city of London.
Can you share?
No, because. But the most important thing is people observing you. And it's that loose cannon thing, especially for us. Get into room, read the room, just stay in the room. Just do whatever they say you should do. Don't stick out, be discreet, don't floss, and just stay in the room for the next door to be open to you. A lot of people think this door is the door. It's not the door. There's something else going on around you. There's another life parallel. You need to get into that next door. So when you're showing on Instagram, we had a retreat in my office in January.
We've got lots of questions.
Somebody asked me, what's going to happen about bonuses? We're wondering about bonuses. I said, who is wondering about bonuses? He said, we are. I said, who is we? Every other person around you got a bonus. You didn't. He thought it was a group conversation, but there were people in the room who had. So he was thinking he was talking for the group. What do you mean? There's everybody here sitting down. Somebody else is in another room, but present here. So he thought he was. I have a question, ma. For some of us, where we're coming from, some other companies, the bonuses are usually paid in December. And all the guys who got bonuses kept quiet. I said, sorry, who's complaining about bonuses? Said, we are. I said, who's we? You need to be able to stay in the room so that next door is opened to you. And it comes from having a teachable and trainable spirit. Somebody should be able to wink to you and say, and you just do that so that next room is made available to you.
I love that you say stay in the room and the door will be open unto you. There's another door. I think in my mind it takes me back to empowerment and what empowerment means to us, especially within the African context. Usually we define empowerment as probably running a training course, women giving each other high five and say, I got you.
I think your mentors are always all around you. My mentor has been in my life for 20 years, actually, and started mentoring me 19 years ago. And I think people feel that until you meet a Richard Branson, you're going to, then you found a mentor. But my mentor has been the same person, regardless of all the people I've met. I don't know anyone else who could speak into my life in such a powerful way because he knows me. And your mentor is someone around you who may not have the financial buzzword, but has the character deposits. And that's why he said, even if you're not a part of that legacy, that has that character deposits that you need to leap over and above even the people that have the financial success. So you want to be looking for character. You don't want a mentor that is all about money. And then when you begin to make money, he feels threatened. You want someone that is not about money. So when you can talk, when in your mentoring sessions, you won't be coded to the person. So I made X, then X squared, then no. So it has to be somebody that you know will not be threatened when you even begin to out-earn that person. And if you choose him because of money, then there may be a break point. But if you choose the person because of character, regardless of who you become, his assignment is to deposit in you. So the answer is your mentor is around you somewhere. Someone that has the character. Hold on to that person that is content and has been sent by God. You could also pray about it because you don't want everyone to speak into your life.
Your mentors are all around you. Pray about it and
pray about it. And they're all around you.
And they're all around you.
Yes.
Behind every strong woman is a stronger man. The chairman of Woodhall International Foundation, Mr. Moji Wusu. Guys, please welcome him with me. It's not a small feat to have a energizer. You know that rabbits, I don't like. You know the thing is that Moji, you're seeing her like she really, when Moji goes wild on you, she's completely a different person. But Mr. Wusu is always that cool, calm, collected. Yeah, dude. So yes. How'd you do it, sir? How'd you stay, humble? How'd you, cope with this wonderful woman that the energy never runs out? And how do you manage Woodhull Capital International Foundation? What is a legacy to a lot of people and to your family and, everything?
Okay, so I'll focus on the foundation first.
Let's do it.
Foundation started 8 years ago with the goal to impact people, impact lives, impact situations, impact our economy, impact everywhere we operate. And in 8 years, I think we've managed to do just that, but there's always room to grow. And I, personally, don't do a lot. I have a lot of people I work with. I have a couple of trustees here, Pastor Wale, Ola, TLC, Akifenwa, and a few other trustees who aren't here. Dara, who handles a lot of our liaison. Vivian, who you've already met. There's a team.
Absolutely.
And what that team does is they all work together to impact and execute everything we want to do. So I sit at the back, like I was sitting there, and encourage everybody to work. And everybody does that. We have our chief troublemaker.
Energizer battery.
The Energizer Bunny. And she's been that way, and she takes the idea and runs with it. And that's how we've managed to build the foundation to what it is now. And it's all about partnerships. It's all about working together, working with other people, and you're only as strong as your partnerships. And the more partners you have, the more you're able to do. So, as far as the foundation goes, that's it. In terms of how we manage, we thank God. Because it's not I can stand here and say, oh yes, it's all fantastic, it's all me. No, it's by the grace of God. We've been partners together for a very long time. And through that time we've built, we've grown, we've learnt, and we continue to build and grow and learn.
So I want to touch a little bit on this Moji not cooking issue, because the reason is because a lot of us don't actually cook, but we don't openly say it. And my sister-in-law is here because she's amazing. When she comes to my house, she's my secret keeper. She just be like, do you want pepper soup? Do you want this? Do you want that? She makes the food happen. We order food in. So when Moji was like, I was like, is Nigeria ready for us to come out of the closet? A lot of us don't cook, especially when you've got things to do and destiny is chasing you and your legacy is chasing you and you can't sleep because you know that there's work to be done. But we're thankful for men like you that allow it happen. But when things like this come out and Nigerians interpret it, or not even only Nigerians, other nationality interpret it as something else. What's your take on it? How do you respond to this in terms of the reality of the work that needs to be done and cooking? That's like low hanging, why? No vibe stuff.
True. And
Coming from a chef.
I guess really it's about what works for you.
For your family.
So my family is myself, my wife, my 3 kids. I have parents, I have siblings, but my family is myself, my wife, my 3 kids. So whatever works for us, works for us. And it's all about being confident enough to own your stuff.
Own your narrative.
Own your narrative.
So isn't it strange? When I said I don't cook, it'll be confusing for people because I cook for work. I'm a TV chef. I cook, I show people how to make the magic happen. But the reason why I say we don't cook is that you need to be able to separate what brings the change to what you can outsource. There's some things that I'm a great cook. I can sit down and ideate, this should go with this should go with that. Know where your energy is, and then pass it on to somebody else. That so for all the chefs out there that I've just let down with this, please forgive me and let me back in the chef fold. Cooking is good. We're not saying don't cook, but recognize the place it takes in your work. If you've got more impactful work that you need to do, if you've got more people to bring up, please prioritize and, do what needs to be done, because it's not only about showing up, it's about showing results, because that's what really matters. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Mr. Moji Wusu. Thank you. And thank you for the great work that you're doing with the foundation. We're going to wrap this up and say thank you once again, everyone. Please don't rush off. We've got the room till 12. We want everyone to exchange cards, speak with one another. And shall I please just allow me just to make sure that people know who, anyway, you find out downstairs. Moji, thank you so much for, starting this story. And thank you so much, Woodhull Capital International, for hosting this space. And when Moji said to me that we could do this, I thought, let's do it. And when we got carried away and overbooked, I was like, we've got to keep this going somehow. I can't not let these incredible people be here. So when they booked this, I booked the one downstairs. I was like, yeah, my people are coming. So yes, please stay. And this room is going to stay open. And my party, we get wild. We're going to get like, Moji said, Bola, behave yourself.
I didn't. I said, Bola, stay in the room.
Bola, stay in the room. And then she said, when they bring you into this room, don't teach them. Tell them to teach us how it's done. So tonight I'm going to try to be teachable, because the billion-pound gang is building up. All right. Thank you once again, everyone, for being here. Please don't rush off. I would love a lot of you here who've come here to meet the Queen, my Olori, my really close friend, but I also support her in her great work because I believe 100% in her. And we've been friends. This is the strangest thing. Yeah, I'm really sorry I have to touch on this because I want you to see her as human. Sometimes when we see people out there, we think of them in terms of figures and all of that. We've been friends for over 10 years. When she became queen, I was like, yes. I was like blocking everyone that if you have anything bad to say about her, don't even come near me. All right. So I feel like, anyway, today's not our day, but yeah, the Queen is here. She's also got a lot of knowledge to share around business. And thank you so much for coming to meet my other friends and all the friends in the room and all the corporates and all the big names. Please send the ladder down and sideways. Don't rush off. Sarah, thank you for coming. The other Sarah, thank you for coming. Oh my goodness, I see Victoria Inyama. Remember the Genevieve days, the actress? Stop looking humble. Please stand up and say the OG actress who got Nollywood. I see Ijoma over there, who's one of the first Nigerian. Ijoma, please tell them who you are. Because Ijoma is wearing sunglasses. You don't know that Ijoma has broken barriers. Awesome. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very, very much. I hope you're following Moji Wusu. I hope you're following Woodhull Capital International Foundation. Yes, and I hope you're following me. Thank you all so much for being here. Please don't rush off. It's incredible. I'm so grateful for all of you, Moji. I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm thankful for everyone in this room. And for me, friendships are a gift from God. Don't listen to all those Instagram people that say that block. Let me tell you something. People come into your life for seasons. You might think you don't need them. And we shouldn't be working off needing people. But sometimes your friend will be a bridge. They will know somebody that knows somebody, and they will be like, "Oh, there." Friends are gifts from God. And I'm thankful for all of you being here because you're gifts into my life. Moji, thank you for being a gift. Vivian, thank you for Woodhull Capital International Foundation because you've empowered a lot of us in here. We're super excited and we're going to keep the flame going. Thank you all so much. God bless you. Moji's going to be here and I hope you've had an incredible time.